PlayStation blocks launch of creepy pick-up artist game Super Seducer. Dating coach game Super Seducer barred from PlayStation 4. I played Super Seducer, so you don't have to. Super Seducer is a blancmange of ineptitude and misogyny. Super Seducer game banned from Kickstarter. Well, I'll be damned. Apparently there is someone on the internet more hated than me. Welcome to Super Seducer, the video game.
Yo, what up, girl? Can I just talk to you for a second? Where you headed?
Busy.
Women are a mercurial and fickle breed. 1 minute they're telling you they want to stay with you forever. The next minute they've slipped out of the cable ties, escaped from your basement, and they're running down the street, screaming for someone to call the police. Super Seducer came onto my radar recently because I became aware of the hostile reception it received at launch. I'm not talking about people giving it bad reviews, because it's bad. I'm talking about how the gaming industry and community adopted a hostile stance against this game. The game was practically attacked as a rape simulator, and it was even banned from the PlayStation Store in response to a lobbying campaign by the gaming media. When I played a bit of this game, I suddenly thought, hang on, maybe I'm just going mad here, but I think it's actually rather funny. So I persuaded a few mates to give it a play, and to my surprise, they actually agreed with me. They said I was going mad, and the game was incredibly shit. But you know me. I'm a contrary bastard, so I thought I would review it anyway. I should qualify that I used to drive a serial killer van, I own cable ties, and I have a small underground room complex hidden behind a false wall in my cellar. Cellar/torture chamber. I'm uniquely unqualified to give sound life advice on attracting women, because pretending to be crippled and asking for help loading furniture into the back of your van and then kidnapping the woman doesn't really count as chatting up a girl. I'm possibly the worst candidate in the world to review this game, so as always, let's crack on regardless. Richard Ruina, the man responsible for the game's creation, is actually known as one of the guys who put a very British spin on pick-up artistry. He isn't into aggressive mind control techniques, he has a fairly inoffensive approach, albeit slightly cringy. He is married and mostly makes a living teaching nervous geeks how to talk to women, with enough confidence that they don't release a little bit of wee while they're doing it. He is not one of the aggressive proto-rapists that are banned from international travel. Does he come across as a bit weird? Yes, he does. Has he been convicted of any of the crimes he's been accused of? Well, no, actually. Super Seducer, his pet project, is a full-motion video game which serves as a training guide to being sexy with the ladies, or in Thailand, the laddies. Most of the game is basically like a multi-choice movie. You get shown movie clips of scenarios and then get offered a range of options on what to do next. The options are varying shades of right and wrong. There's usually one right thing to do, several acceptable or wrong answers, and one or two balls out fucking creepy stalker options, which I automatically picked first because it's ingrained into my DNA. Once you've made your choice, the consequences play out in video form in front of your eyes, and Ricky explains the implications of your choice. With my choices, this usually involved some form of prosecution or arrest. At the end of each chapter, you get a slightly laborious and tedious recap, and an explanation of why certain things work, or don't. Call me weird. Okay, I know I'm weird, but maybe it's just because I kept picking the creepy answers, but I found this quite amusing. At times, fucking hysterical. I have already been chastised by several friends for admitting this, but despite the fact Richard Ruina looks like a cross between Jesus and a serial killer, I found some of the games surprisingly entertaining. A lot of the time, you're not laughing at the jokes, you're laughing at the game. But laughing is laughing, I guess. Pickup artists have a long and controversial history. It pretty much hit the mainstream in 2005 when Neil Strauss published his book, The Game, Penetrating the Secret Society of Pickup Artists. This is one of those books that nobody usually mentions they're reading, but it sold millions of copies and hit the bestseller list, so some motherfucker is reading it somewhere, even if they won't admit to it. Basically, it's a book about how this dude went off to America and joined a fraternity of pickup artists who devoted their lives to perfecting the art of chatting up women. Love it or hate it, there is no denying that there are some strategies, techniques and pitfalls when talking to the opposite sex. And these things can be taught, and lots of people get very, very upset about this. Romantics get angry because they don't like the idea that human attraction can be reduced to a set of rules. Social justice warriors hate it because they don't like the idea of a guy in a sharp suit doing magic tricks in the bar and then banging their socialist best mate 2 hours later. Feminists don't like it because they think it represents another form of male oppression of women. And because they don't like the idea of a guy in a sharp suit doing magic tricks in a bar and then banging their socialist best mate 2 hours later. A lot of guys hate pickup artists because they don't like anyone capable of chatting up their wives/girlfriends. And fuck it, who does? All this being said, pickup artistry is a big spectrum. And at one end you have guys teaching nerds like me how to show a bit of confidence and talk to ladies without mentioning their collection of rare Dungeons and Dragons figures, and it's pretty harmless stuff. At the other end of the spectrum, it's not so harmless. And here we get to the darker side of the issue. Not all pickup artists are created equal. There is a more sinister side to the industry, with some people employing techniques that are downright fucking psy-ops. They cynically deploy an almost weaponised version of psychology to undermine the confidence of the target, manipulate their behaviour, and ultimately aim to coerce someone into doing something they don't really want to do. A bit like the implementation of loot crates in video games. Generally speaking, however, in the media, they all get lumped into one big shit pile and universally treated like they're all aspiring date rapists with a discount card for bulk buying Rohypnol. A bit like the people who promote the implementation of loot crates in video games. Look, let's get one thing out in the open right now. I'm not defending this game because I think it's good. It's not very good. You ain't going to find any Wikipedia entry for this game. There isn't any Super Seducer wiki. And unless you fucking start one, there ain't going to be any Super Seducer subreddit. Last time I checked, whilst it did surprisingly have a very enthusiastic little community on Steam, the most people I've seen playing it at one time was 245. I'm defending this game because it got attacked by the press, attacked by the gaming community, the gaming industry, and banned from the PlayStation Store because of crimes it did not commit. This game got fucking censored. It got fucking lynched. And it doesn't matter whether you like it or if it's any good. This game got censored, and we should all have a problem with that, because next time it might be your favourite game they come for. They might ban your favourite game because it's too violent, or has drug references, or boobs in it, or some other SJW polygon bullshit snowflake reason. Okay, it's not a very good game, but it's not the rapist training tool that it's been described as. It's pretty harmless fun. Maybe fun is too strong, but look, some people are enjoying it, and nobody is getting hurt by the game. Maybe game is a bit strong too. It's more like one of those cheap-ass training DVDs you get forced to watch in a fast food joint. You know the ones, you've just started working in the local fuck burger, the boss is too busy to train you, so you get thrown into the back office and forced to watch a generic training video on personal hygiene, and and how fucking dangerous it is to ejaculate into the hot, deep fat fryer. The 5-card Steam collectibles are epic. One of the badges is called Creep. He's trying to be ironic, I'll give him credit for that. It wasn't wise under the circumstances, but I'll give him credit regardless. But given the moral outrage and pitchfork-waving villagers jeering in the streets about this game, the advice in the first chapter was shockingly benign. Here are some examples. If you have to lie about who you are, fix your life. However much you practice lying, eventually you'll get caught out. Infect people with your enthusiasm and passion. Don't be overtly or inappropriately sexual. Don't be a pervert and get yourself arrested. The advice in Chapter 1 was basically sensible. Like it or not, this game has very positive reviews on Steam. Yeah, how about them apples? The popular reception of the game is incredibly positive amongst the people who actually spent money on the fucking thing. There's even a thriving but small community on Steam. Some of the contributions sound like they were written by embryonic serial rapist child murderers, but a lot is also just normal nerdy guys like my 16-year-old self just looking for some help talking to girls. But yes, the creepy prostitutes on the bed were a little bit weird. Some aspects of pickup artistry in general are very mundane and practical. Basically, it teaches you how not to be an arsehole. Basic advice like, don't talk about your vintage bottle cap collection with a girl unless you're at Comic-Con. Actually, maybe not even then. Don't scratch your arse and smell your fingers. Basic, healthy stuff. A lot of the basics of pickup artistry is sensible, helpful advice. I know what I'm talking about. I've used these techniques very successfully, and they resulted in me having sex. Twice. Some pickup artistry is literally quite zen and pretty much carries the message that being more successful with women is about being a better person in yourself. It's about changing your life so that you become the man that women want to be with. Then there is the darker side of the game, best described as the psychological equivalent of roofies. It's basically psychological warfare, where the woman's integrity is the enemy and inserting your penis into her vagina is the mission objective. That's where it gets dark. That might have sounded a bit weirder than I intended. But before anyone gets too fucking high up on their high horse, let's face it, most of us guys could always use a little bit of extra help charming the ladies, and there is no harm in getting a bit of guidance. Some people will just jibe on about just be yourself. Get the fuck out of here. I'm a strong advocate of honesty, but fucking hell, there's honesty and there is honesty. And a bit of tactical advice about knowing when to shut the fuck up is important. Just be yourself. Fuck off. That means for about 7 years, every girl I went up to in a bar, I should have introduced myself as a max level holy paladin in a raiding guild. Honesty is great, but knowing when to shut the fuck up is even greater. There is also the issue of sexism here. Are men automatically categorised as sleaze monkeys if they read a book on how to chat up girls? Well, I tell you what, women are fucking masters at manipulating men. The main difference is that they're really good at it and talk to each other for help and advice. Why the fuck do you think they're always going to the toilets in pairs? Do you think they're in there comparing their fucking underpants? Christ, read a few women's magazines for fuck's sake. They're full of dating advice. Generally, men are really bad at it, so we have to go to websites. Think honestly about some of the girls you've chatted up in the past. Did you really chat her up? Or did she lay down the red carpet and invite you to stroll along it? Let's face it, it's fashionable to hate on this, and to say anything positive about it is likely to get you branded a rapist. But at the same time, a lot of guys have at least read one book or spent a few hours reading up about the subject. Whether they would admit that in public is another issue altogether. It's worth noting that, good or bad, a fair amount of reviews of this game that I've watched have selectively used the wrong answer examples and falsely presented them as his fucking advice. That's just misrepresentation. It's also worth noting that a lot of the streamers lampooning this game on live streams have been in hysterics. They have not been bored, outraged, offended or disgusted. Watch some yourself. Some of the people have been reduced to hysterical tears. Good or bad, right or wrong, intentionally or unintentionally funny, the fact remains that even the people taking the piss out of this game seem to be having quite a lot of fun while they did it. The saga of this game would not be complete without covering the scandal of Richard Ruina's spat with YouTuber IAmPattyJack. He was given an early access code to review the game on his video series, quote, "This is the worst game ever made." Yeah, you heard that right. When the game got shit on, Ruina and him went at it on Twitter, and it resulted in Ruina hitting him with a DMCA takedown, then eventually backtracking, getting a ton of shit, and then reimbursing IAmPattyJack for the lost revenue. However you spin this, the most important thing to take away from this as a content creator is that hitting anyone with a fucking DMCA strike is the nuclear option. Even if it's because of a legitimate dispute, it's the equivalent of being upset with the drink the barman just served you and reacting by applying to the police to revoke the liquor licence. It's a motherfucking disproportionately abusive law designed by giant corporations to fuck people who can be dealt with already in 100 different ways. DMCA takedowns are like going into a hospital and cutting off the oxygen supply to a patient because his dog shit on your lawn. DMCAs are so heavy duty that filing a false one is a federal offence. But thus far, no fucker has ever been charged. However you spin this, Richard Ruina was a fucking arsehat for hitting a YouTube with a false DMCA strike. There is no escaping this fact. No review of this game would be complete without me offering my own personal list of advice for being successful with the ladies. So here is 21 Kilotons Guide to a Successful First Date. Maintain an air of mystery. Use a voice disguiser on the telephone.
I want to play a game.
Wear a balaclava. Be evasive. Don't tell her your name. Ever. Eye contact. Maintain it constantly. Literally never stop looking her straight in the eyes. Apparently Hitler was famous for never breaking eye contact and held his stare until the other person looked away. So in your head, constantly repeat the mantra, be like Hitler. Demonstrate interest in her. If she goes to the bathroom, quiz her about every tiny detail of what she was doing. Demand to know intimate details of her day, her co-workers, rear access to her apartment and banking details. Women like men that are assertive, so never apologise. Don't let her order her food or pick her own drinks, and tell her she is not allowed to leave the table without your permission. Women like men who are good providers. Demonstrate to her during the first date that you can provide for her. Steal something in front of her, perhaps a purse from the girl sitting at the next table. Failing that, mug someone as you're walking her home. Women respect the alpha male. Demonstrate that you can protect her. Always bring a knife on a date and make sure she sees it. Preferably talk about knives a lot during the date. Individuality. Women love men who are individuals and stick out from the crowd. I assert my individuality with my choice of car. I drive an ice cream van. It makes a statement to the ladies that I'm different. Failing that, a hearse is an excellent second choice. Make her feel secure and safe. Explicitly tell her at the start of the evening that you have never murdered a woman on a first date. I guarantee you that if you follow these useful tips, you will make an unforgettable impression on any first date. So let's wrap this corpse up in a tarp and chuck it in the furnace. Before we morally crusade against games like this, let's face a heavy dose of reality. Overall, I think the average male could frankly benefit from some of the advice given in this game. Things like, don't masturbate in front of girls in the street. Don't preach to strangers about being vegan. Don't try and recruit a girl into prostitution. Don't encourage a girl to put her pet in an underground dogfight. And try and stay off the topic of bestiality when talking to girls. At least at first. Sadly, not all men know these tips, so there is at least a target market for this game. This game is quite unintentionally funny. I mean, the arse model pickup line was good. It's a lot more morally refined than Kidnap. I'm not sure it's worth the money. For £3 to £4 in a Steam sale, it's probably a fun game to play with your drunken mates, male or female. This game is a cheap source of fake moral outrage for some, when it is in fact very harmless. I'm not defending Richard Ruina. For all I know, he's the biggest fucking sleaze on the planet. Hitting a YouTuber with a fucking DMCA strike over a video game review is unforgivable. Period. I'm also not championing this game. All I'm saying is, the treatment of this game was typical of the BuzzFeed, Polygon, SJW, Snowflake generation of self-trained journalists, and most of the mainstream press jumped on the bandwagon, because he is, let's face it, an easy target for a variety of reasons. I think there's also a point to be made here about freedom of speech and journalistic responsibility. Everyone deserves a fair trial. I think a lot of people just read Pickup Artist and figured this game was a soft target. It's like people decided this dude didn't deserve to be treated fairly because misrepresenting the content of this game provided so many opportunities for cheap lols. Who gives a shit about fairness? If you don't like this game, then that is probably a sign that you are of sound mind, socially well adjusted, and far more intelligent than me. But if you hated this game, if you took a principled stance against it, if you jumped on your high rocking horse, and crusaded about this game representing something sinister and evil that needs to be opposed, banned, or spat on, then maybe do some research before grabbing your pitchfork next time. So in the final analysis, how would I rate this game? Well, I tell you what, it was more fun than Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it was a fraction of the fucking price. But in summary, the game is not very good. The music is fuck loud and you can't turn it down. Richard Ruina is a DMCA touting arsehole. But these reasons alone don't justify censorship. It's worth £3.48, so wait for a Steam sale. Good luck, and happy hunting.
Well done for choosing the creepiest choice in the game. I'd really love to go down on you. I like squirrels.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I like nuts.
Oh, fucking pervert.
You just dress really casual. I was thinking of getting a tattoo. Let me show you. I'm also an arse model, look.
Hey, what the fuck?
My dick. Look, I can touch you, you can touch me.
Oh my god, no you can't.
It's good that you don't really care about how you look.